Hi, and welcome back to Garden Ninja. Now today's video guide is going to be showing you how you can make an awesome fire pit in your garden as a focal point. So come on, let's get cracking. Now you can make a fire pit pretty much out of any fire resistant material, whether that be stone, compacted hardcore and gravel, a metal bowl, or even an old wheelbarrow. Now I'm going to show you today using an old metal bowl, but rather than just use the bowl and throw some logs in, I'm going to amp it up. So I'm going to show you how you can use other materials such as recycled rocks, maybe some old bricks, to make a fire pit like no other. So come on, let's get cracking. So you're going to need a few key bits of equipment before we start digging our fire pit. You're going to need some canes, which will allow you to mark out the sphere, the circle where the fire pit's going to be dug. You're also going to need a tent peg, which I'll show you more on that later. I've got some lawn edging plastic here, which is heavy duty stuff from Germany that I've used around the garden, which is great. You can use metal, you could use bricks on their edges. If you Google lawn edging, there's loads of different materials, but this is going to keep the shape really neat. You're going to need some weed membrane, a sharp spade, like my golden spade here, a pair of scissors, some string, a wheelbarrow to lug everything around, and then you're also going to need some gravel and whatever rocks you're going to choose to outline your fire pit. Now I'm going to be designing a circular fire pit, because what I find is that with circles it encourages people to gather around, whereas a square or even a rectangular shaped fire pit usually means that people will sit at either end and it's very formal. So I want it to be more relaxed and to encourage people to come and sit together and have a good old natter. So once you've found your true centre, pop your cane in. Take another piece of string and tie it around the middle, and tie with a double knot so that it's tight but it still moves round. And then what we're going to do is we're going to measure the radius of the circle that we need. So I know I want a 1.5 metre diameter circle, which is the full width. Now the radius is half the width, so half of 150 is 75. So I'm going to use my tape measure, and I'm going to measure out 75 centimetres from the cane. I'm going to tie my tent peg around the end, so I know that that is 75 centimetres and that's the diameter I want. And what I'm going to do is use the tent peg to make markers around and pop canes in until I get a full circle worth of canes. Once you've mapped out your circle, it's time to get your sharp spade and to then lift the turf. So you want to slice through the top of the turf and take off 1 inch to 1.5 inches and remove that turf for the entire circle. So I've lifted the turf and now I need to add the edging to make sure that this grass stays neat. So I'm going to pop in that plastic edging, but you could use metal or you could use upturned bricks set into cement. It's entirely up to you. I've just finished fitting the edging, I've given it a rake to make sure it's level, and more importantly I've used a tent peg to ensure that the end of that edging fits together. We don't want it pulling apart, especially if you're using a plastic edging like I am. If you're using metal, there's different pins, and if you're using bricks on the side, then you probably want to bed them into cement. Once that's done, I'm now going to lay some weed membrane to make sure that nothing starts to grow up from this, and then add a good inch or two of gravel, which is going to be the heat sink for the entire fire pit, to make sure that that hot bowl full of coals or wood is not going to harm the ground or anyone near it. So it's going to help dissipate the heat from the bottom of that fire pit. Now for the fun part, which is arranging the rocks in any way that you see fit. Now you don't have to use real stone, you could use old lumps of concrete or anything that you've got left over. This project's a really great example of how you can upcycle things and turn them into something brand new rather than them going to landfill. So once you've got your metal bowl or your bin lid or whatever you're using for your fire bowl in the centre, we need to make sure it's level. So I'm going to go and get a spirit level and a piece of wood, and then I will adjust the rocks underneath to provide enough support so that this is level. So me and Barry have just finished arranging the stone. It was probably 95% me, 5% Barry. But what you can see now is that the bowl is really stable. It also gives the illusion that it's floating on top of these rocks because I've built up a platform in the middle of old bricks and slates to give it a really sturdy base. So whilst this is just a fire bowl that you can buy online anywhere, what I've done with this design is elevate it. So rather than it sitting on a flag or just on a bit of gravel, I've taken it and really tried to think about how we can make it look really exciting. And I think I've achieved that. But we've still got lots of gaps, haven't we, Barry, around the fire bowl that needs filling in. And I've got a number of bags of old odds and sods of gravel and cobbles that I'm going to use. So let's go and get those, and then we'll fill in the gaps and show you the finished article. So I've just finished putting together the final touches of this fire pit design, and I'm really impressed with it. I love the fact it's really brutal. I've been able to reuse all these existing materials and upcycle them, and it fits really well in this context of the garden. But a fire pit is nothing without a small fire, so I'm going to set this one off, sit back and enjoy your brew. So there we have it, my easy guide for upcycling materials you may already have around your garden to create an amazing fire pit. Now this steel fire pit could be an old dustbin lid, it could be the bucket off an old rusted wheelbarrow. You can pretty much use anything, but hopefully this guide's showing you how you can take materials that you already have and within about a day's worth of effort you can create something that's absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to sit back with a cup of coffee and relax in front of my fire pit. If you've liked this video, why not subscribe to my YouTube channel where there are hundreds more garden design hints, tips and hacks to help you make your garden awesome. Happy gardening!